Okay, so hey, my name's Eric Miller, and this is.
Hiroshi Hamada.
Yeah, you can talk. You have your own.
Oh, it's working.
Microphone. Yeah.
Great.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk today about how you make a fan parody. So this has become super easy in recent years. So we want to kind of talk about the basics of it. We'd love for people to make some, and at the end we'll feel free to ask questions during the thing. But at the end we'll, if we have extra time, then Hamada-san here can answer any of your Japan-related questions about anything. So.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, to start off, I don't know, let's look at the thing. Okay, so there are different types of parodies. This is actually the 32nd year that anime fan parodies have been in existence in the United States. The very first one was called You Say Yamato, which was a parody of Space Battleship Yamato, also known as Star Blazers. And it's actually pretty funny. Another early one was actually 9 years later, Voltron, Hell Bent for Leather, and that's a pretty good one too. So this is, wait, let me see. Okay, so here we are. So the early days, you were extremely limited with your ability to edit. And basically do it. You could basically record audio, and you had to record the audio with everybody sitting there around the microphone and do it as it happened in one huge take. The whole half-hour episode. So it was kind of kind of a big deal. So you had to have everybody there all together at the same time. So pros, no editing. Cons, writing is more difficult due to editing restraints. So basically you had a whole episode, you couldn't really cut down the episode. So if stuff was happening on the screen, you had to be saying something or explaining why things were happening. So that actually makes it a bit more difficult to do. So next up is doing something horrible to an entire show. So that would be, good examples would be Redeath, which, has anybody here seen Redeath? Oh, okay, so actually the person who made Redeath and Nescaflone is a guy here from the Bay Area, and he shows both of these things every year since 2000, so 15 years he's been shown Redeath at least. And this is where you take an entire show and then you edit it down into something that you want it to be. And then Ideonov is one of my parodies, where I basically do the same thing. So you take the whole show, you're able to edit out the little bits and pieces that you want, and then cram it all together into one big show. So, pros, the story can be crafted out of disparate bits and pieces from an entire show, rather than just one episode, and you're limited by what you have in that one episode. The cons are editing becomes a massive task, and it does, and it's massive. Okay, well, third type is the subject story. So this kind, doing something to a horrible show, where you have, you take the footage from an existing show and you say, oh, I see this is hilarious, and I want to do something funny to this piece of footage, and we can turn this around to be funny. You know, you take a serious show and make it funny. A subject story is something like Fanboy Bebop, where you have a story in mind, and then you just take the footage from a show and then turn it into that story. And so Fanboy Bebop being a good example of Cowboy Bebop footage being turned into a bunch of people going to an anime convention. And the thing is that actually you could actually take that story, you could take all the audio, almost all of it, and then actually just edit it together with a completely different show. It's not specific to Cowboy Bebop. So there's that kind of a thing. Pros, just about any anime can be used. Cons, I don't know. Okay, so last we have an abridged series, and that is whatever abridged, name it. So the abridged series is actually kind of similar to the very early days of fan parodies, where there's minimal editing, where you take a show and you maybe cut it down a little bit. The good thing about that is, again, right here, minimal editing. The cons to this are that writing is actually much more difficult to make it a coherent story. And usually, from the ones that I've seen, you have to have seen the original show in its original form for it to make any sense. So if you're not familiar with the show and you watch an abridged series, it doesn't make any sense. The other downside to it that I've seen is that you start off with it's basically you have a scene, so you have a story, and everybody starts off here, and they go here, and then they do something, and then they go here, and they do something else, and you have to come up with reasons why, completely different reasons why somebody's here, and then they go here, and then they do something else. So it's actually more difficult than it sounds. And usually, a lot of the abridged that I see, it's very, very disjointed. It's like, oh, something funny is happening in this scene, we'll say something funny in this scene, and then it's a different scene, and then it's something completely different that's funny that's happening. And so I think that the writing it to make it coherent is difficult, and I think making it accessible to people who haven't seen the show that you're parodying is difficult as well. But pros, minimal editing. So, and if you've ever done any editing, you know that is a huge pro. Okay, so choose your path. So everybody does their own parodies in their own specific, special way. I do mine kind of in a totally different way than I know that anybody else that does it, and everybody else kind of does it in their own kind of slightly different, specific way. So number 5 could be you. Maybe. Okay, so other considerations that we might have when we're putting together a parody, let's say. Number 1 is how many voices are you going to have in the show? That's a big consideration that I take into account because I do everything myself. I do all the voices myself, I do all the writing, I do all the editing. So I think of, well, how many characters do I have? How many women characters do I have? Because I only have 2 women voices and they're both horrible. So I try and cut out as many women characters as I possibly can. So yeah, the considerations to take into account. How much editing do I want to do? So do I want to do a lot of editing? Do I want to do a little bit of editing? Editing is massively, massively time consuming. So something to take into account before you start. How many people say they are going to help out? Well, say they're going to help out is the important part of that, because however many people say they're going to help out, about 1/3 of those people are actually going to help out. So normally, these types of things are done in a group with people doing different things. So you have a bunch of your friends come over, do some voices, you and 1 or 2 of your other friends will do the editing, and music, etc. So, and yeah, how many people are actually going to come up? Do I have the right equipment? Guess what? I bet all of you do have the right equipment. We're going to talk about that. Probably. There we go. Computer! Aha. So if you're doing video editing, we think, right? We think the better CPU is better, because if you're doing rendering and video stuff, it needs lots of brain power, not necessarily video card power. Video card power never hurts, but in the case of doing video stuff, especially more complicated video stuff, better CPU. Okay, so microphone. The amazing thing about a microphone, okay, so we have a couple different types of microphone. We have a regular microphone, which costs money. You have a dynamic microphone or a condenser microphone. This microphone that I'm talking into right now is a condenser microphone, kind of a normal microphone. The other type of microphone we have is a computer/USB microphone. It's called an electric condenser microphone. And the amazing thing about this is I actually did my first two or three parodies with an electric condenser microphone. It was just a USB microphone, stick microphone, that from Logitech. It's like $25 or something. And the thing is that it's not horrible. I mean, it's not great, but I'm just always really amazed at how not horrible it is. So the bad thing about the electric condenser microphone that you have on all of your computers already and in your phone or whatever is that they're generally not horrible, but you need to be a little careful with them when you're recording because they will overmodulate and peak out really easily. So if we'll maybe look at that a little bit later, but yeah, so you have to be really careful when you're using them, but you can use them. They are usable. Otherwise, I have a cool condenser microphone at home that I use now. It's a little bit nicer. Okay, audio software. Well, we have free audio software, audio editing software called Audacity. It's actually not that bad. It's good for editing multiple tracks of things together, so getting audio and voice and sound effects all together. That's good. The bad thing about it is that it doesn't do any processing. So you can do, or much processing. You can do levels, you can change the levels, make it louder, make it softer, and you can edit different tracks together, and that's about it. You can't put effects on it, or things like that. At least nothing complex. Not free, Adobe Audition and Cool Edit. Cool Edit 2000 is actually a piece of software that I use, and it's very old. It's from 2000, but it's actually still really, really powerful. You can get your hands on it for pretty cheap, like, I don't know, $5 a day or something. And you can do lots and lots of really hardcore stuff with it. But newer stuff, Adobe Audition, for example, is really, really good. It's even better than Cool Edit. I mean, obviously, because it's not 15 years old. And video software. Well, we actually have free video editing software out there. Windows Movie Maker. Yeah, I know. And Lightworks. Lightworks is the one I hear is the cool one to use. It actually has some amount of effects that you can do with it. It's free. You can edit video. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Not free, Adobe Premiere, which is the one I would recommend. It's so I mean, Adobe stuff is great because it is hardcore. You can do really serious stuff with it. But like all Adobe software, it is not easy to use. It has a steep learning curve. So if you want to start off, don't start off with Adobe anything. Start off with something simple, like Lightworks, or I use PowerDirector, which is not very expensive. And it does most of the things that I want to do. But yeah, it's not fantastic. So, questions we must ask ourselves. Is it funny? Number one. Now, if you think it's funny, and your two best friends from high school think it's funny, guess what? It's not funny. So you have to kind of think. You have to kind of get outside your own head and look at it a little bit more objectively than that. Is it too long? So we found that maybe about 15 minutes is about the real max for something of this nature. I've seen some people make them an hour and a half long, over an hour and a half long, and they are murderous. So, I mean, they're really, really tough to get through. Yeah, shorter is better. I like to do, what I end up doing is I make actual episode length things. So they're about 22 to 24 minutes long. So they're the actual length of an actual episode. That's a pretty good length. A little longer is okay. Who is my intended audience? That is an excellent question. Now, if you're going to spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and huge amounts of effort on making a video that you and your 5 friends from high school are going to watch and then go, hey, that was funny. then you can do that. That is totally cool. If I'm going to spend 100 hours making a video, I'm gonna hope that more people than that are going to see it. So you have to think about your intended audience. So what age group are you going to fit into it? Is it going to be an older audience? Is it going to be a younger audience? Do you want it available to all audiences? That sort of thing. And does it make sense? Again, this actually goes along with the very first one. Is it funny? Does it make sense? It might make sense to you. But guess what? It doesn't make sense to anybody else. So yeah, So who's my intended audience, along with what kind of language are we going to use or not use? And is there nudity? Not nudity? Hopefully not. So, all questions to have in your mind beforehand. Okay, audio fun. So, recording the audio is always the fun part, and lots of fun things that we can do with the audio. So, I'll end up doing, because I do all the voices myself, I usually try to make the voices as different as I possibly can, because it's all me. And it all sounds like me, even though, to me it sounds like me, because I know, because I did it, and it's my voice. Other people seem to not know that it's all me, but I can always tell. So what we can do is throw some crazy effects on our voices to help break things up. So, I believe we have, okay, so you would start off with an original voice recorder. So I say a line, it's recorded. So number two, we would put some effects on that voice. What we would do then is, if there are really heavy effects, what we might do is we would take the original voice recording and mix it 50-50-ish with the voice with the effects. And then the original voice recording, which is nice and clear and clean, cuts through the crazy overmodulated whatever effects that we put on the voice. Otherwise, if you just have a voice with huge effects on it and nobody can understand what you're saying, then it's kind of what's the point? And I have an example here. Okay. So here's the original voice recording.
Well, it kind of looks like it did.
Okay, so this is the original voice that we did.
Well, it kind of looks like it did.
Right, kind of something like this. And, it looks like it did. So that's normal. But the character itself, he was kind of a weird monster sort of a thing. So what we did is we put
Well, it kind of looks like it did.
we put a flange effect on his voice.
Well, it kind of looks like it did.
And that is almost impossible to understand, right? So it's kind of, yeah. So
Well, it kind of looks like it did.
So we took that one.
Well, it kind of looks like it did.
We did that one. You put them both together, usually around 50% each, depending on, whatever. And we end up with this.
Well, it kind of looks like it did.
So there we have some effects, but the clean voice cuts through the effects. So you have the effects kind of in the background at the bottom, doing funny things.
Well, it kind of looks like it did.
Make sense? Okay. Oh, sorry, does anybody have any questions right now? And by the way, anyone who asks a question, we have a giveaway of some DVDs of fan parodies. Any questions so far? We all good so far? Yes.
Okay, is this going to come later? Do you know how to extract footage from animes or other?
Okay, so that's a good question. How do you extract the footage from the DVDs? And I believe if you go to the anime music video website,
Wait, hold on.
potentially, theoretically, if someone were to do such a thing, if you go to the anime music video website, they should have some instructions there on how to theoretically do such a thing. And they're having there's an anime music video panel somewhere. Okay, so let's talk about we're watching a little video here that I produced to talk about how we edit.
Hey kids, this is Trigger Mortis here. I just wanted to go very quickly over the kind of editing things that I do with my video. So we're going to start off here with a scene from the original Space Runaway Ideon. This is a very quick little scene with Kasha talking with Cosmo. And Kasha here talks quite a lot, and then Cosmo says basically nothing. He says these two little words, and that's it, and he's gone. Now, the scene that I needed this footage for had Cosmo talking quite a lot and Kasha saying practically nothing. So my secret to fixing that was keeping the camera on Kasha. And you can see here in the top, you can see the number of edits that I end up having to make. Every time there's a little line right here, that means another edit that I had to make.
Hey, you know those dinosaurs have been
and this scene was pretty short and pretty simple, but you can see there are quite a lot of cuts, quite a lot of edits to kind of turn this scene around to Kasha listening instead of Kasha talking. And bonus points if you can tell me what song that is that she's humming to herself.
Fine.
So the new scene was also about 3 times longer than the original scene too. So we're going to move on to another different scene way towards the end, and this is going to be pre-music, so it's just going to be voice and sound effects. But we want to kind of pay attention to the sound effects and how much sound production goes into this, because I replaced all the sounds in my shows usually. So, wow. Where to start? Oh, that video right there, the guy looking, that was actually reversed. Boom, that sound right there, those sound effects were put through a filter to make them sound like they were underwater or something, so that explosions were happening outside the ship. Ka-ching! Oh, I love that sound effect. That's the sound of somebody pulling a cord on a chainsaw.
Oh, so I'm going to pause and mention really quickly. So all of this is a big action sequence, and it all looks kind of normal looking, but the action sequence is actually taken from 2 different movies and probably about 10 different episodes. So it's all kind of put together myself later. So it's actually, when you're trying to cobble together that many pieces from that many different parts of things, it becomes kind of difficult.
And this, of course, is a lightsaber sound, which, you know, of course, it's kind of a lightsaber. It's called the Ideon sword. And so every time you see the Ideon swords here in this sequence, there's a pitched down lightsaber sound in it. It's not the original lightsaber sound. It's pitched down. It's a lot lower to make it sound a little more hefty. But anyway, you can see there's a lot of stuff going on in that scene there. So not only, you know, lining the sounds up to make them all sound at the right time, that's easy. The thing is finding the right sound and then the right levels to play them at so they're not smacking you in the face. You know, I like sound effects to be there and to help accentuate things, but I don't like them to, you know, punch you in the face too much, unless it's actually a punch in the face.
Rad.
Rad? I love that. That's rad with a W, kids.
W-R-A-D. So, means wildly and ridiculously awful. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, that scene was extremely difficult. It took me a very long time, because not only do you have all of these different disparate bits and pieces of different episodes put together to make it look like it's coherent, but then all of these sound effects here, and they're all overlapping, all different things are happening, all this like that. So finding all the right sound effects that actually fit in all of these different places is really tough. But you know, you don't have to do that though. I've seen people, they make their parodies, and they basically, when something explodes, someone goes, boom, or you know, whatever, and that's actually pretty funny. So it depends on what you want to do. It depends on how serious you want to be with it. So I make it look and sound like an actual episode, just people saying really stupid things. But you don't have to do that. So
So I end up doing things the hard way, if you can't tell. I'm editing, disparate scenes together from a whole series of, 30, 40 some episodes together. So picking out the little different pieces here and there. So it ends up taking quite a lot of time. I've calculated out that for approximately every second, 1 second that you see that I produce in one of these videos, it takes me about 4 minutes to produce each second. So that's how we're doing it the hard way. I'm sure you can find easier ways to make that happen. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Yeah, so that is the hard way. And I don't, I'm guesstimating it takes about 100 hours for me to do a 25-minute show. I mean, that's a lot of time. So, if you have friends and you split it up, then, it doesn't seem like it's that bad. You're doing it all yourself. Okay, let's look at, so does anybody have any questions about such things? Yes?
First off, what was that from?
Oh, that was from the show/movies called Ideon. Did say Situation Ideon. And I'm not surprised you've never heard of it. But you should all check it out. It was made by the same guy who made the original Gundam. As soon as Gundam was canceled, he started this show, and then this show was canceled. So, but it's pretty awesome. You told me, Hi. Okay, so let's look. Yes. Sorry. Here you go.
Oh, what? No.
Okay, so one last thing. One last video here. We have how-to writing.
Hey kids, this is Trigger Mortis, and I just want to talk briefly about writing for anime parodies, which is kind of what I do. We're going to go over how I do it, and these could probably be applied to other sorts of writing projects, but since I don't have any other writing projects, this is, how it is. So just in case you don't know, what I do is I'll take an entire series of a show, 40, 50 something episodes, and I'll take the little crazy bits of them, rearrange them, rewrite them, and turn it into one regular sized episode. So what I'll do to start off with is I'll have a lot of different scenes, a lot of different crazy video that I'll say, okay, I want to make a scene around this crazy thing happening. And then what I'll do is once I have a bunch of those going, then what I'll do is I'll take a sheet of paper and I'll make a grid pattern on it with a bunch of boxes on it. And like this. So what I'm going to do then is I can start here in the top left with the opening scenes, and then it'll go all the way down to the bottom to the lower right to where it ends. And when I'm doing this, I always know how it's going to end first. That's always the first thing that I figure out. How is it going to end? And why do I always figure that out first? I have no idea. What I can tell you is that I love closing, the very, very end of the show, and then closing credits, and then, little crazy things that come after the credits. I don't know why. That's like my favorite part of anything. So I'll always come up with how it's going to end first. So I'll write that down, and then what I'll do is I'll then usually have a general idea about how it should start. So then I'll write down these things up here about how it's going to start. And then all the stuff in the middle, I'm just going to write down things that I know want to happen, and then I'll figure out the order of them later. So why do I do it this way, where I find out the ending and then the beginning and then all the middle stuff? Well, it's great to know the ending, so you know this is where we're going to end up. That's very important, because if you just have you ever see a show where it's like, it's going and it's going, and you're like, oh wow, this scene's great, and then the ending comes and it's like, oh, well what happened? Well, that was crap. So if you know how the ending's going to be, it's much easier to work towards that. So you know where you're going to end up. And then at the beginning, you have a beginning point, an end point, and then so you know where you need to go. You don't just start off somewhere and then think, okay, well, eventually I'm going to end up in some fantastic place. It's better to know where you're going from the beginning. This should also help you from meandering around too much, if you have a clear goal in mind. So once I have kind of a general outline of the show, I have the beginning, I have the end, and then I have a bunch of stuff that I think will fill up the middle part, then I'll start writing the script. And that's just regular old script writing, which just requires time and not being a complete idiot. So it's in this actual script writing process that most of the other bugs are worked out, where, you know, I just have I know I have an idea for a scene, I have this thing, somebody's head explodes or whatever, I don't care, you know, and I don't want to write a scene around that. So I'll start writing the scene, and then what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll look at the footage that I have, and I'll say, well, do I have enough footage to actually make this scene work? And usually I don't. So I'll either do one of two things, or usually both. I'll try looking for more footage from different scenes that I can, you know, force into this scene. So most of the scenes that you'll see in my shows are all made up of several different scenes from several different episodes. So very few of the actual scenes that you see are just that scene. So after possibly finding new footage, the other thing that I'll have to go back and do is just rewrite the scene. This usually takes the form of switching lines around. So some people I wanted to be talking or not talking, or you know, whatever. And then comes the long process of editing it all together, you know, recording all the lines, doing all the sound effects and everything. Blah. Oh my gosh, takes forever. And that's how I make the magic happen. The other thing that I like to do, is just kind of as a little side note, is I have lots of crazy things that just like jump into my head at random times for no reason whatsoever. So what I'll do is I'll actually just write them down. When I hear something weird, or I think something weird, or some sort of joke comes into my head, I write it down. So I have this big long Word file just with a list of crazy things in it. And so anytime while I'm writing a script, I can just pull from that, you know, and boom, I have some random crazy thing to say. So that kind of helps out a little bit as well. And that was my very quick tutorial on how you write yourself an anime parody. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you again later. Have fun.
Okay, so anybody got any questions about writing an anime parody?
Does that have to be consistent with the plots of the anime?
So yeah, so that's a good question. So does writing the script have to be consistent with what's happening in the actual show? So no. So like I said earlier, there was the subject story kind of a thing where you can write your own story and then find an anime that has the footage that you need and then make it. So there's that aspect to it. What I like to do, and you don't have to do this, but what I like to do is take a show that's crazy or serious or something and then turn it into something that's funny. So like Fist of the North Star, for example, is a severely serious show. And I mean, it's like so serious. And so those types of shows where they're serious and they take themselves super seriously, you can turn those around real easy and make them funny. So, and so I've done like Ideon, Macross 7.5, these are all like mecha anime. And those are all kind of very, very structured shows to start off with, so I take that same structure. Where you see the good guys and the bad guys show up and talk about their plan, and then the good guys show up again, and then there's a big fight at the end, and that's about it. So I take the kind of similar structure to the same thing in the show. But that's just me. You can do it however you want. I've got some other quick video here we can look at. So this is going to be a quick example of how it is that I will edit a scene together. And this particular scene is actually all edited with the same footage from the same scene, which is very unusual for me, like I said. We usually put together several different things to make a single scene. But you can see what the and this is just with simple editing software, simple editing tricks, nothing fancy. I think the fanciest thing I used in fixing this scene was a split screen, so that someone wasn't doing something on one side of the screen when in reality it actually was. So just put a still on one side of the screen and it looked like he wasn't doing something. So let's watch the original scene here. So this is again from Space Runway EO. And this is just a little quick elevator scene, because the ship isn't very big, so this elevator doesn't go very far. So they're talking, Cosmo has a problem with Bess here. Bess is with green hair. Cosmo's telling him, hey, you're all messed up because you're in love with this alien chick, and you're doing stupid things now with the ship. And Bess doesn't like that very much. He's like, dude, you're just 15 and you're an idiot. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna punch you in the face. Oh man. Okay. So then we start fighting. Ow! Shut up! Don't tell me how to live my life. And then, oh, we're there. And for some reason, okay, we're done. Yeah, see ya. Okay, so, so I mean, this is actually it's a serious show, it's a serious scene, but when you take serious things, it's easy to kind of turn around. So this is the scene that I ended up with in my show here.
Hey, Beth. What? This isn't gonna be like that elevator scene from that other show, is it? I'm sure I have no idea what you're talking about. Hey, Beth, you haven't seen my Cosmo. If you ask me one more time about your doll, so help me, I'll turn your internal organs external. Oh man, that sounds rad. Rad? You mean like radical? So you think that would be good? No, rad. W-R-A-D. It means the opposite of radical rad. It stands for wildly and ridiculously awful. Duh. So if you say something is rad, you mean it's bad? Do you mean like Michael Jackson bad or the regular kind of bad? Bad. I think I mean regular bad. Then yeah, rad means regular bad. Then why don't you just say bad? Because then people would be confused if I meant Michael Jackson bad or regular bad. You haven't seen my dollar, have you? Have you seen the new preview out? For what? My fist. What? Yeah, it's coming soon to a face near you. Well, that was funny. But now I'm gonna have to introduce you to my lightning fist of awesome. So, same time next week?
So anyway, that was also about 4 to 5 times longer than the actual original scene was. And the original scene was really, really short. So this is, I mean, and all with fairly simple editing tricks. The most, yeah, like I said, there were a couple split screens in there, but the most complicated thing I did, and I will do sometimes.
Hey, Beth. What? This isn't going to be...
Okay, when you see Bess talk right there, he didn't actually talk there in the original scene when his head was over on that side of the screen. So what I did was I hand animated it myself. I actually took his mouth from another scene, made several stills of standing there, mouth closed, mouth half open, mouth all the way open, so that we can actually make him talk. So that's you can see here.
What?
Yeah, so that little mouth movement there, that was fake. I added that in. So, and then that's also very simple to do. And I do that every once in a while, from time to time. As you can just actually fix the image yourself to make it do what you want it to do. And if it's easy, it's just making somebody talk or something. Sometimes I put people on screens. You know, somebody's looking at a screen, I'll put somebody else on the screen that wasn't on the screen previously. So that's pretty easy to do. Okay. Any other questions about making a fan parody? I think that the technology is such now that it is really easy to do. As far as, you know, you can really make some really cool things nowadays. It's just a matter of time. You know, do you want to do it? So if you're going to do it, then you need to schedule time in your day. Like, hey, every day from an hour at this time of the day, I'm going to work on it. And if I get a little bit done, I get a lot done, no problem. You know, every day. So it's the same thing that you know, with any other thing that you have to do in your life. You want to learn another language, you want to memorize the Bible, you want to memorize, you know, you want to do something, you want to have something, you want to have something. You need to seriously, you know, say, I'm going to do it, and not say, oh, I'll do it later. You need to do it. So schedule time in your day to actually sit down and do it. Okay, any questions? Questions? Anime fan parodies. Everybody should think one. Yes?
Yeah, how do you extract the sound effects you use for the space battles?
Oh, yeah. So I pick them up from a lot of different places. I have a bunch of Star Wars sound effects that I like to use a lot. Other places, there's a website. There are a couple of websites that have free sound effects on them. There's this one that I can't think the name of off the top of my head, but it actually has a big community of people that they upload their own sound effects, and that's for you to use, for everybody to use. So actually, there was another video that I did where there was a robot, and I took somebody had taken a recording of a lift chair that goes into a lift that goes into like a van for like wheelchairs, and someone had just stuck their microphone next to it and then just had it go up and down and a bunch of times, and made this like 7-minute recording just of all these different noises. I took that whole thing and I edited it down into little tiny whizzes and whirs, and then put it over my robot, and it's pretty awesome. So, yeah. And again, you can always just go boom too. That works too. Any other questions about fan parodies, anime parodies? Maybe? Yes. Oh, sorry? So you can use lots of different things. Actually, the very first video that I made using the free software that I got with my camera. And I can absolutely guarantee you it was never intended to do something like what I did with it. I mean, it was really hard, but it got it done. So there's free software available. I forgot what it was called already. I have a slide for it. What was it called? What was the free audio? What was the free software? Microphone, audio, Lightworks. Yeah, Lightworks is the good one. There are a couple video editing software out there. Lightworks is the good one. Okay. So if you ask the question, you also get to come up here and give us these. Okay. So if that's all the questions we have about fan-made parodies, yes, one more question.
Where do you have your presentation videos? Say you have them on amv.org?
Oh, no, so we give out, so my actual parodies, we give those out on, at panels like this one, but also they're on YouTube.
Why do you put them on DVDs then?
Well, I don't know. Because most other people's parodies are not on YouTube, because usually they get taken down. For some reason, I'm lucky. There's actually also a website called animefanparodies.com. It's not up right now, but it will be up soon, and it has these guys from Wisconsin. They have collected and amassed almost every fan parody that's ever been made in the U.S. and put it up there on the website. It's down right now, but it'll be up soon. So you guys should check that out. Okay. So if that's all the fan parody questions we have, then we have our special guest here, Hamada Hiroshi, and he will answer any and all of your Japan-related questions. If you have any questions about any Japanese thing or Japan or whatever, he can answer those questions for you, probably.
So, go ahead.
See, I don't know if you know this, Mon, but
I don't.
do you know how the anime industry feels about like abridges or these fan parodies on YouTube?
Wow. I don't know. I know that the Nescaflowne is actually on the Escaflowne Wikipedia page. I know that in Japan, as long people are really into doujinshi, the fan-made manga, and so as long as people can make them and sell them at conventions, and other than that, then that's fine. If you try and make money off of it or whatever, then they're not happy about that. So in this case, we're making fan parodies. I don't know that the Japanese industry really understands the American sort of parodies. I know the Japanese industry doesn't like outtakes on DVDs of the American actors screwing up their lines because they think that they're making fun of the show instead of like, I was trying to say this line and I totally screwed up. And we go, that's funny. The Japanese, they don't think that's funny. So, would they understand the parodies? I don't know. Do you understand any of my parodies?
It's very hard to understand. that's my truth, yes.
Yes, I know. They might not get it. But yeah, we do it for fun. Don't make any money at it. Hopefully it should be okay. Okay. So you have a microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Stick your face in the microphone. So does anybody have any questions at all about Japan that you want to ask? Anything crazy about it? Yeah. What?
Is Godzilla real?
Is Godzilla real?
No way, Boy Scouts, it's a foot tall monster inside a cage.
Godzilla's not real, but Gamera is real. Wow. No questions about Japan? About where do you live, Swanson?
I guess everybody knows well already.
Yeah.
I love anime.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned a lot about the crazy things about Japan from anime. Like if someone's talking about you, you sneeze. Or you sneeze when somebody's talking about you. I never knew that until I watched anime. Yeah.
Okay, this might be okay. This is just a question, but do Japanese people actually have bloody noses when they think of perverted things?
Oh yeah. So when you see a hot girl, do you have a nosebleed? You do? Yes or no? Yes? You do? So you see a hot girl and you go, and blood pours out your nose? Is that what happens? In Japan? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that happens, apparently. For real? Okay, questions back there. Yeah, that's a good question. Do they do parodies like this in Japan? Do you know?
So the most of the case, the popular case is maybe hentai.
So a hentai parody.
Most of the case for doujin, I think, or movie.
Doujinshi.
Yes.
Yeah, but do they do video parodies?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Now video is available too.
Oh.
That's very hard work because you have to make it from the scratch.
Oh, so it's actually animating a video.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's very, very tough work.
Yeah. That sounds tough. I wouldn't want to do that. This is tough enough. Okay. Well, that is it for us today. Thank you guys for coming, showing up early Sunday morning. I'm amazed that anybody was here, honestly. But they gave me time, so I was like, woo! Okay, well, thanks a lot, guys. If you have any other questions or any whatever, you can come get your DVDs if you want. Or if you have any other questions about Japan stuff, ask them on us. Okay, thanks a lot, guys.